All right. Hey, everybody. Another episode on another Sunday. Thank you for listening. First off, I just want to say thank you to everybody once again for all your comments. If this is your first time listening, welcome. Please leave a comment if you like, and even if you don't like. Got a cool episode today, and I promise you, I put my name on it. I know I always say that, but this is a really cool episode. You guys are going to meet someone that I met, I think over 20 years ago. Very special lady. And I have a surprise story for her at the end. Hopefully she won't let me forget that story. Your reputation precedes you, Miss Richardson, and that's all I'm gonna say. But I promise you, it's a safe story. Okay. A little juicy, but no, it's before I even knew Kay. But anyhow, no further ado. The person I'm interviewing today, as you listen to this, is Miss Nedra Richardson. She is a special woman. I won't try to introduce you guys other than let her speak. Let me shut up. Hello there. How are you doing?
Hi, Keith. I'm doing so well, and thank you so much for having me on. I'm excited about this. I'm excited. When Kay texted me and said your brother wants you to come on his podcast, I said, podcast?
I know. Everybody thinks I'm doing Primerica or something. I'm like, look, I'm not going to ask you for any money. Don't ask me for any. Yeah.
That's big, though. That's huge. That is huge. And I'm honored. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no. Did you get a chance to, I asked you to do a little research. If you didn't, it's all good. I know we're all busy. Did you listen to any of the past episodes?
I did.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool. So you kind of know how this rolls, right?
Absolutely, yes.
Most people that listen to this do. In case this is your first episode, you know what? There's an audience just from you being on here that are going to listen to this for the first time. So I'll explain for them. This is a clean podcast. So this is, if you got your kids in the car, it's all good. You can listen to it with them. Basically, this podcast, Grow Up Already, this is a career-based podcast, positive one, where I ask each guest, what did you want to be when you were growing up? There's no trick to this. This isn't a Jerry Springer type deal where I get you to try and tell me your secrets without, whatever. Simple as that. What did you want to be when you were growing up? And eventually we find out what you do now. And I haven't met a guest yet that wanted to be a doctor when they were a child, and they're a doctor now. So usually I get to hear about some pivots, some life choices, and things of that nature. And so do you. And the whole purpose of this podcast is young people, and this is kind of close to my heart. When I was 18 to 24, I overstressed about what I wanted to be when I was growing up. I thought I knew. I won't go there again. You can listen to my episode, Me, Myself, and I. But there was just this time, and everybody who was around me at that time was kind of in the same boat for the most part. We thought we knew what we wanted to do in this life, but then life started happening to us, and things ran their course. So this is for those young people. You may listen to one of these episodes and say to yourself, I didn't know this is all that was involved in doing that for a living. My goal is to get everyone, every walk of life, from law enforcement to one of my good friends at church, Amy Noel. She owns a brewery. Everything. Like, there's no, as long as you got a job, we got something to talk about.
Right.
Yeah, no. So, Nedra, what did you want to be when you were growing up?
So this is so funny to me because I kid you not, when I was younger in elementary school, I said I wanted to be a lawyer.
Really?
Yes. I was like, I want to be a lawyer because I want to help people and I want to, defend people and just be there for people. Where I saw that at, why I got that narrative of wanting to be a lawyer, I have no clue. All I knew is that when they asked me, and because they do ask you in elementary school, what do
Of
you want to be
course.
grow up? I said, I want to be a lawyer. And for a long time, I stuck with that. I was like, yes, I want to be a lawyer, and that's it. That's what I want to be.
What's a long time? Are we talking into high school or?
No, we're talking
I don't
into
know.
like high school, into junior high school. I stuck with that, but after that, it just died out. It fizzled out. I didn't want to be a lawyer anymore. But I could sing, so that was one of the things.
Oh,
Yes. So I was like, so once getting into junior high school, you have the school choir and all of that. So I did join the choir that we had there. And that was one of the things that I enjoyed doing. I enjoyed singing and um, like doing the concerts at school. And it just, that followed me all the way into high school, actually.
I see.
Yeah, so even in that, even with the singing, so at one point I was like, oh, I could probably, do this professionally. And of course, growing up in church, I was in the choir at church and all of that. So once getting into high school, I went to Crenshaw High School. I was in the Crenshaw High School choir. And if anybody knows that's listening to this podcast episode, Crenshaw High School choir was the best. Like that was
Ah,
down the best choir in the world. We went everywhere.
hmm.
Um, so when I got in that choir, we sung with the Clark sisters. Maddie Moss Clark came
Wow.
to came to our school. We sung with her. Then we even went over to Jamaica and sung
For
in
real?
Jamaica. Yes,
Really? What part of
yes.
Jamaica? I know somebody that's
We
Jamaican.
went to Montego Bay. We were in Montego Bay.
Oh, wow. What year
We
was
that
this?
So I was in the 10th grade.
Oh,
So I
okay.
was 15, and we went and what was so funny with that, because my grandma, when I told her, I was like, we're gonna go to Jamaica, and I was like, but I know we don't have the money, because I ended up living with my grandma because of some things that happened with my mom, but it's okay. I still loved my mom, but my grandmother stepped in and took me and my older sister. And so I said, I know we can't really afford it. And she said, oh no. She said, you're going to Jamaica. And that's, she said, I will do what I have to do, but you're going on that trip. She was like, that's a once in a lifetime thing, and I'm going to make sure you do it. So we stood in the line at the federal building on Wilshire to get my passport. We was in that
Oh,
line
yeah.
hours. That's when you could just go in and go get your passport without having to make an appointment. We stood in that line for hours trying to get my passport, but we did it. And
Wow.
off to Jamaica we went.
How long were you guys there for?
We were there for, I want to say, 4 days.
Now, this is in high school, right?
This was in high
Was
school.
that your
Yes,
first time out of the country?
yes, that was my very first time out of the
I'm
country.
curious. You're honest. I know the world we live in with being politically correct and all that good stuff and guarded. What was your first impression being out of the country? I know what mine was, and I think mine was Jamaica too.
Wow.
Well, it ain't no wow. My wife is Jamaican.
Yeah, she.
Oh yeah, I left that part out, guys. This is how I came to know Nedra personally because she worked with my wife.
Yes.
I try to have every episode tailored
Exactly.
to the actual guest. Don't like to leave my stuff
Yeah.
out of it. But what was your impression being out of the country,
So I
out of LA, I should say, because you
right.
sounds like you traveled about as much as I did back in those days, which was zero
Yeah.
outside of if I couldn't get there in a car with my parents, we didn't go most of the
Right.
time.
Right.
Yeah.
Because Vegas was our thing. That's where we went all the
Yeah.
time. But
Yeah.
yeah, so going out of the country for the first time at 15, leaving, your family, traveling with all these students and our teachers, and of course the aides that was there to help. It was an experience. I mean, as soon as we touched down, you just see all of this beautiful water. You're excited. It's like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, we don't have
So
that in LA.
no, you do not.
Yeah.
So to be able to go to this beautiful tropical place and see all of these beautiful people, because even back then, even in Jamaica now, the people are so beautiful, but back then they were so welcoming and they were so just loving to us, especially being students. So, we got to do a little bit of activities as well, but for the most part, we got to see the schools over there. And of course, it was a lot of poverty.
Right.
Um, but we got to see the schools. We got to go and sing at the school. So that was interesting. And then we got to go to the church and sing at the church too. And it was what amazed me most, Keith, about that was you saw people literally walking roads to get to church.
Yeah. Different.
I mean, barefoot, all of that.
Yep.
They was walking to get to church. They did not care. They was going to get to that building. And when I tell you, it was an experience that blew me away. It was just an experience, and I was so grateful for that. Now the food part, no, because I'm very picky,
Right.
and
Right.
I could not get with the food. I could no, no.
Yeah. I think it's a culture thing.
Hmm.
And what I mean by that is in how you're raised, because I
Yeah,
know growing up, like until I met my wife, she's Jamaican, you guys, Jamaican Indian.
or
I
pretty sure.
never tried Thai food. Like, yeah,
Okay.
California was this melting pot. If it wasn't, but it's gonna make me sound so ignorant, but if it wasn't Mexican food or like all this Americanized stuff, so I shouldn't even say, but Mexican food,
Yeah.
Italian food.
Yep. Our
I mean,
soul
I didn't
food.
even try Greek food. Greek, no. Like,
Right. What is that?
yeah,
Right.
we didn't do any of that. So to go out of country, I'd have relatives that would go, they were already adults, uncles and things like that, that would go to, Barbados and all these other places. And they'd always
Right.
have negative things to say about the food. And we're
Um,
always, as a culture, we are kind of like, I don't know, black people, we're very picky with that kind of stuff. Like,
yes,
who
we
cooked it?
are.
Who is she?
Uh,
I ain't eating her
I
stuff.
don't know. I don't know if I'm gonna eat that. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, I get that. I get that. Yeah, I understand that. I understand that completely. I have been to Jamaica, and we were blessed to. Well, I got tour guides with me, right? I got my wife's family, so
Uh,
they take me to the safe places and their people's her family's kitchens and things like that, and it's cool, but yeah, it's some adjusting for sure. I know personally, if I just went to Jamaica and never knew any Jamaican people just on vacation, I ain't eating that. No,
right.
cause no, I don't know, but that comes from being in LA. Like we didn't have
Right.
to.
Right.
Scoyo
That's,
Pollo Loco. Oh. I don't know. Terrible. Terrible.
that is funny.
But anyhow, so you came back, changed woman, worldly,
Yes.
and
Yes.
what happened after that? So you're in high school, you're
So
gonna
I'm
be
in
a
high
singer.
school. I want to be a singer. Even so I only stayed at Crenshaw for 1 year. Ended up going to Compton High School because it was too far. Because I lived in Compton, and my stepdad, he still lived in LA, like right around the corner from Crenshaw. But it was too far for me. I had to get up early to go. So my grandma checked me out of there, checked me into Compton. So even at Compton High School, I still continued on with the choir and even went into singing with into the nationals at Dominguez College, where they
Oh
had these
yeah.
tryouts for singing opportunities. And I went on to do that. Didn't win, but it encouraged me to know that I could do it. And I think had I had the backing that really pushed me to do more, I probably kind of would have pursued that. But I don't think, I didn't really have that backing. Like, I don't think my family took me serious enough in that arena to keep moving forward. I just think that they thought maybe this is just something that she wants to do, and it's
Like a
not.
hobby.
Yeah, it's like a hobby. But no, I was actually singing in the nationals, and that's what I wanted to do. But I don't think I explained it either. Like, yeah, this is what I want to do.
How
But
do
I
you
do think,
do that when you think about it? Like that's your first time going through life. Now I bet if you
yeah,
could go back, you would know exactly what to tell them.
I would know exactly what to do.
Yeah,
Exactly.
but going
Exactly.
through it the first time, that's no fault on you. And I mean, to be honest, I mean, I don't know your whole story, but probably no fault on them either because I mean, I don't know. They probably don't know any professional singers or how that route
Mm,
goes.
no.
They don't know to take you serious. There has to be a little bit of, I'm going to just go do this in
Right.
you,
Right.
whatever it is to be a cop, singer, whatever it is, you just have to go. And sometimes people, you see people's, unsung on BET or whatever it is, and they just went for it. And maybe they're lucky enough to have an
Right.
aunt or uncle who was already
That
in it,
push.
you know,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
um, you know,
Yeah.
but, I was on that. Were there any influences growing up that kind of kept how did you stay grounded? Growing up at that time? Because it sounds like even though they didn't know how to push you in that arena, it sounds like you came. Well, I know you. I know you came from a great family. And it doesn't have to be family, but who were your influences growing up?
Well, it definitely was my grandmother because I would watch this lady just get up, go to work, still provide, um, especially for her grandkids when she didn't have to take on that responsibility. But that's the type of woman that she was. So just to watch her get up, go to work, provide for us, provide still for her family, and then try to keep us grounded in church. Now that was one of the things that I loved. I loved church, going to church, just being a part, like I was explaining earlier on, just being a part of the choir in the church and just singing. Early on, I knew that I had a love for God at the age of 5. So
Hmm,
just even growing up in that and just watching her. She was definitely my biggest influence ever.
I
That,
see.
that, yeah, it was my grandmother.
I see. So you're out of high school. What
Out
what
of,
you what you doing? What you doing? You're out of
oh
high
my
school.
goodness,
You
gotta
graduated
take,
high school,
gotta
right?
pick. Yeah, I graduated.
Hey, I gotta
We
ask.
gotta pivot. So, oh my goodness, but I don't mind telling it because it probably could help somebody. So, graduated high school, but while in high school, I ended up pregnant.
Okay.
And yeah, so graduating high school, I was pregnant when I graduated. So at this point now, I'm 17 years old. I'm with, you know, this guy that I met in junior high school, David. I'm with him and graduated. She said, because Cookie's my nickname. She said, Cookie, I'm sorry, but you can't stay here with the baby. So out of high school, pregnant, don't have nowhere to go. She says I can't stay with her. So David ended up having this house in Gardena that was given to him because of a situation he was in. And I ended up moving in with him and his sister at the age of 17.
Wow.
Yes. So I've been on my own since I was 17 years old, fresh out of high school.
Hmm.
Yeah. I ended up not having that baby. I had a miscarriage.
Oh,
And
okay.
yeah, so I didn't have that baby, but I still ended up staying in the same house with him. Life was going on, moving forward, move forward. And then eventually I did end up having a child with him in 92, which I love this. little young lady so much. Well, I have
This is your oldest. What, duh,
this is my
stupid Keith.
oldest.
Yeah.
Yes, this is my oldest. And I mean, if I'm being honest, I knew then when I had her, I was meant to be a mother. Like because, and the reason why I'll say that, Keith, for whoever's listening, so you can understand why I say I think I was meant to be a mother. Because growing up, I watched my family, my mother raised me the best way she could until ultimately drugs kind of influenced her life. But I made a promise to myself that that wasn't going to be something that overtook me. So once I had my daughter, I made sure that I put everything into this little girl and had tried to be the best mother for her that I could be. Not saying that my mom didn't, but she only could do what she could do because she had an illness, a disease that
Yeah.
she couldn't shake.
And that's
So
exactly what it is. Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. And so growing up, and then raising my daughter with David, you have your ups and downs with that because you go through a lot. You have been through a lot with him. I don't even know how to not go here, but oh God. Hmm. Watching him because he became somebody important. I'll just put it that way. He
Yeah.
became somebody important that became known. And so having to, walk this path with him path, in this particular stage of my life, moving forward with him, it became challenging. And then we ended up having another baby, which was my son, David Jr. And okay, let me backtrack. Go back, Cookie. Go back. So having Dijon, I was like, I need to do something. Like, I can't just sit here and just not do anything. I couldn't see myself doing that. So I ended up going to medical school.
Ah, okay.
Yes. So I ended up going to medical school. And back then, the programs that they pushed so much for young people was a medical assistant. Although they had other um, nursing programs they had at this particular school, which was Concord Career Institute, shout out, in North Hollywood on Lancashire. I ended up just going through their medical assistant program. But looking back, Keith, if I could have changed that, I probably would have did their LVN program more than their medical assistant program. Because you know why I say that is because I had so much time on my hands.
There you
And
go. Yeah.
yet I
Yeah.
did. And I think the medical assistant program was accelerated. So it was like 6 months, then you do your internship, which turned out to be just a whole 9 month program, whereas the LVN program was 12 months. So what's 3 more months? It,
Let me ask you this. I have a good idea, just based on age, but where do you think your head was that you didn't want to go on the extra 3 months?
I think
What had you,
because
not to cut you off, but where
I,
value wise, because obviously you put a certain value on going that route.
yeah,
What had a stronger hold on you feel at that time mentally?
mentally, being with David and who he was,
Mm,
and yeah, just saying, okay, you just needed to do something. You didn't really have to do this, but you just needed to do something to make yourself feel important and make yourself feel valuable. So you would have something to fall back on.
I
I guess
see. I
that would
see.
be where my mindset was.
So
And
you were
then
acting
two,
in, go ahead, sorry.
and then two, that was like nobody ever introduced the LVN program. Get what I'm saying? So I feel like even in that medical assistant program, had they said, well, you can do this as well, I probably would have said, okay, well, maybe let me try that. Because I was open. I was into furthering, I guess, back then. Now that was 92. That was 93. That was, when did I start school? Look, you know what? That's a shame.
I was just gonna say, how old were you making these decisions? You just had Dijon at this time. You didn't
Dijon,
have
I
David.
was 19 at having Dijon. So I was 19. I was 20. So when I went to school, I was 20 years old. When I
Okay.
started,
Okay.
yeah, I was 20. And so, that's where that was. And I have my medical assistant certificate. And even went for my internship, ended up keeping that job that I did at my internship.
Hmm.
Yeah, I only kept it for a few months because
Go ahead. We don't go anywhere you don't want to go
I
in
only
the
kept it
conversation.
for a few months because I ended up getting pregnant.
Oh, okay.
So I only kept it for a few months, and then and if I'm being honest, Keith, that internship, yeah, it was one of the young ladies I knew. It was from high school. Ended up being in that office, so I was like, oh my God, I know her. So it that's how I was able probably to stay on as a employee.
Oh, I see. You had to hook up. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So even staying there, but it just seemed to me like it was a lot of shystiness going on. So if I'm being honest, I probably didn't want to stay longer than I needed to because I didn't feel comfortable at some point. I just felt like, eh, I don't know if I want to stay here.
I
So
got
I
you.
think when I got pregnant, that it was like, okay, that was it.
That was your way out. Yeah.
That was my way out. So yeah.
So
So mhm,
now you're pregnant a second time.
yes.
How old were you? You completed the medical assisting.
Mhm.
Second time pregnant. How old are you at this point?
At this point, I'm 22.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
I'm 22. Now I have two kids, and I'm like, okay, now what are you gonna do? You're
Hmm.
you're two. You have two kids. They're toddlers. What are you gonna do? What do you want to do? Because I didn't have to work. I'll just put it this way: I didn't have to work unless I wanted to, and that was my thing. I was just not that type of person that wanted to sit back and let somebody take care of me. I couldn't do it. I could not do it. So I find myself now we're moving forward. Well, David was born in 94, so we'll go a year, 95 in between there. I'm moving different places. We had a house in Rialto. Had moved from Rialto, came back to LA, was in Culver City for a while, then had to move from Culver City back to Rialto.
Jeez.
And so now I'm juggling in between there. What am I going to do? So I'm doing little odd jobs. I had a job at FedEx, like taking stuff off the trucks. I'm telling you, I just was
What?
that. Yes,
And this is in 95?
this was in '95.
Oh man. Oh man. You making me I'm like, this is when he did I'm trying. I'm like, no, no, you wasn't doing
Yes,
FedEx. Wow,
see, I was
they
doing
only made
FedEx.
one cookie. Okay, go ahead.
I was doing FedEx, right? I'm driving to Fullerton because that's where the distribution center was. I was doing FedEx, taking stuff off the trucks, loading up the other trucks.
Oh man, I have so many jokes that I'm just thinking, but it would really take the conversation in the
It
direction
was
we're
like,
trying not to.
it really
That's
would. I'm like, what are
funny.
you doing at FedEx? Wait a minute.
Yeah, that's what I'm
No,
like.
I'm te- when
Oh boy.
I was the person that I didn't want somebody throwing up in my face what they were doing for me. So I wanted to make my own money, make ends meet where they could until finally I stopped doing that and then started trying to get Dijon because she was such a cute little girl. So I took the route of her getting her into modeling, like doing little commercial stuff, trying to do that with her. That didn't really pan out too well with her. So moved from Rialto, ended up in the Valley. Now here we go. Now we're in the Valley.
Okay.
And so I said, you know what? I have this medical assistant certificate. I'm about to apply for a job.
I was gonna
I'm
say, what? Why not?
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah. So finally I went ahead and I applied for this job. It's called Friendly Hills Health Center. Can you hear that?
Hear what?
Okay, good. Never mind. So I had this, so I said, let me just apply for this job and see if I get it. And so I ended up applying for Friendly Hills Health Center. I am dating myself, my God. So, because Friendly Hills don't even exist anymore, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's not. So I'm in the valley in Northridge. I'm driving all the way from Northridge to Culver City because I'm working.
Ugh.
Like, yeah. No, I'm gonna work. Is that if I gotta get up early in the morning just so I can have a job, just so I can have my own
Yeah,
to where
no,
I
that there's so much value in that,
so much value
young
in that.
ladies out
So
there. Yeah, no,
yeah,
no matter what. So,
no
I mean,
matter
I have daughters, so yeah, no, I don't care who they end up married to.
yeah, it's
I
so
don't
important.
believe, just like you, I don't believe I would ever have to tell them this, but yeah, no sponsor lifestyle with my kids.
No, no, and mine either. Actually, I don't, me and you know who their
Hmm.
father is. But yeah, just even in that sense of their father being, who he is, just, I don't, I, I just didn't want that for them or myself,
Yeah,
mainly
no, I
so.
understand.
So yeah, so we'll fast forward from that. I stayed at Friendly Hills like 3 years. I was at Friendly Hills for 3 years until tragedy struck me. And then it struck twice. So at that point, I kind of had like this nervous breakdown. And so I was working in a lab there, drawing blood. That's all I did for those 3 years that I worked there. I drew blood, so I became very efficient and very good at drawing blood in this particular field. And so I got to one point where I was working this whole lab by myself, and I was drawing like over 60 patients a day by myself. And
Wow.
yes, it was getting so taxing. And I just asked my supervisor at the time if I could have just take a little bit of time off, and she would not grant me that. And so I had a talk with David at the time, and he was like, well, if you want to, you can quit the job, and I'll just hold you down. I'll just hold you down, and it's okay. So in my mind, I'm going, oh, okay, he said it's okay. So I'm thinking, okay, let's do that. So I ended up turning in a resignation, gave my 2 week notice, and from there, that was in '98.
Oh, okay.
Yep, that was in '98. So let me just tell y'all, when '99 hit, there was a whole year. By the time 2000 came, I was back working.
Oh, okay.
I was back working. I was back working. Yeah.
And
I
where
couldn't.
were you working?
And where was I working? I was working at Motion Picture and Television Health Insurance in Woodland Hills. And this is where I met my beautiful friend Kay, Keith's wife.
Yeah.
Yes. So I ended up meeting her, I want to say in 2022, maybe 2020, not
You mean
2020,
2002? Yeah, I know what you
2002,
meant. 2002. Yeah.
2002, either 2002, 2003. And from there, we just formed this beautiful friendship. So now, here we are in 2024. I'm still in the same place from 2000 all the way up to 2024. From when I was there, I'm there now. Now we're with UCLA. We've been with UCLA for 10 years because Motion Picture sold us, and that's the way I have to say it.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
They sold
I
us.
was there for that. Yeah.
Uh, they sold us to UCLA, and so I worked for Motion Picture for 14 years. Yeah, for 14 years I worked with Motion Picture, and then ended up with UCLA, and now that's where I currently am with UCLA.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Huh. What a wild ride.
Yeah,
The FedEx one is the one where I'm like, I always
I'm not.
find out
I'm not
something
going.
I
I'm not
didn't
going
know about
back.
someone. Yeah, that's a trip. FedEx.
FedEx. Yes.
And that's a
That
95, man.
that was 55. Mm-hmm.
Mm, mm, mm.
Yeah,
But
with my
hey,
little
I mean,
next on.
um, so I ask everyone, and it sounds like you may have left a job out, honestly, but I ask everyone the same question. Have you ever had a job that was so bad you forgot you were getting paid to do it? It may be a day, it may be a year of doing this, it may have just been one afternoon. But when you think back, was there ever a job that you had? I know I've had too many jobs. I'll try to leave myself out of it, but
Yeah.
but
So I had jobs. I worked at Chick-fil-A when I was 15 in the Del Amo Mall.
Del
Uh,
Amo Mall. That
yes.
was our school shopping mall back in
Come
the
on.
day.
Back in the day, and
Hmm.
they had a Chick-fil-A in there, and I worked there. I worked there for a few months, and then I ended up working at Taco Bell off of Western and Rosecrans
Oh
next to
wow.
Bar. Oh my God, we ain't gonna even go there. I was there. So if I could say if I had a job, what was my worst job? You know what? The worst job that I had was that one I was telling you about with the medical assistant where I did my intern.
Oh, okay. Really? Of all places.
That was probably the worst one where I did my intern because it was too much. So for everybody that's listening, I'll just give a little history with me. I'm an empath. I'm a pastor now as well too. But I am an empath and I can feel people. I know their energies. I can sense if you're a bad person. I can sense if you're a good person. And I just felt that that wasn't a good place for me. So that's why I said I think me getting pregnant was like a good thing for me because it just gave me my out. So that would be the place.
Gotcha. 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 Okay. And then there's a question I wanted to ask you as well. And I feel like, well, no, you didn't answer it. Not quite. Like you said, I can feel where you would most likely go. But
Okay.
I'm gonna set the scene.
Okay.
You're on your lunch break. You
Yes.
walking back to the office. There's a park bench
Mm-hmm.
outside the office, and who do you see? You see 18-year-old Cookie sitting there just chilling,
Mm-hmm.
and she doesn't know you because she don't know she's gonna look like you at the age of whatever you are. um, but you know her because you know what you look like, and
Yeah.
you sit down beside her and introduce yourself. What would you tell 18-year-old Cookie, full of
Oh my
life, trying
God.
to probably drinking her honey, her tea and honey, and trying to
You
get her
know,
singing voice right?
yeah.
What would you warn her? If I don't know if warn is the
Oh
best word,
God.
but what would you tell her? And this isn't necessarily about regret. Some people say they have no regrets. I think we all maybe
Oh
not
no, I
regret things,
regret.
but we could have
Oh
went different routes.
yes.
And
Yes.
don't be too proud. Not you, but to other people, don't be too proud to say, well, I could have gone this route. Or you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
what would you tell that 18-year-old Cookie?
I would tell that 18-year-old Cookie, number one, 17 was too young for you to be on your own. And I would tell her, looking back, you have so many opportunities that you could have done, and you probably should have went to college. Um,
Well, no, remember, she's 18. She can still do this. So,
yeah, you're
you know,
right.
tell her to
You're right.
go now. Get up
You're
off the
right.
bench.
Okay, so let's
Yeah.
go back. So, Cookie, you can go to college. You can pursue your music career or music degree, however you want to put it. You can pursue that because they have programs in college that can help you in those areas where you can develop more in your singing voice, where you can go on, even if you wanted to go to Broadway in New York and go from there and just develop into that performer or that singer that you wanted to be, then you could do that. You
Yeah.
could do you didn't have to don't have to stop at just singing in school choirs or singing in your church choir. You can go on to be who you really want to be in life without second guessing yourself. No second guessing.
Yeah,
And
that's a big
all
one. The
that.
second
Yes.
guessing, because I think we all, there's a certain amount of that no matter what age you are. But at that age, that was the whole inspiration for the podcast, the second and third guessing of yourself, and
Wow.
perhaps not having, of myself, I should say, and not having or feeling that you didn't have someone older than you that could quite navigate what you're trying to do, or like you
Yes.
said earlier, even take you serious. And it's not personal, it's just they never walked down that route you're trying to go, so how could they tell you?
Absolutely.
They could only tell you those cliche things, baby, just keep going, just keep trying. It's like that only gets you so far. It's
So
like, well,
far.
how do I do? And they can't give you that, you know?
No.
Yeah. Yeah. The second guessing is a big thing because, you know, as an adult now, no matter what step you take towards something, the moment you get going in it, you know, you could say life, but I say the Lord's going to let you know, hey, you need to
Come on.
cut and go this route because
Yes.
this isn't, he'll show you if you're smart enough to pay attention. Or you're just going to keep hitting your head until you get tired of it. And like my grandmother used to say, a hit dog will holler. You just end up going that other route, the route you would have taken anyway, or whatever, however you want to say it. But you have to make a decision and put your foot down because life will keep going. It'll keep moving forward. Time, like I always say, time doesn't care. You
No.
know, it really doesn't. And it's very unfair. Kay and I talk about that quite often because she's back in school
Yes.
now.
I'm so proud of her.
And we talk about our daughters because they're of a certain age, 19 and 16.
Yeah.
And there's just all like what we're talking about right now. Her and I both have had those moments, and in those little micro moments that we can kind of sense our daughters are thinking, particularly my oldest, because she's out of high school. She's thinking this. She kind of halfway said that. And I'm like, oh, we always say, oh my gosh, what would our parents have said at this time or at this, you know, moment, or, you know, gosh, they wouldn't have known, you know, blah, 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 blah. Like, it's a generation thing also as well. And we're blessed. Like I tell people, I've said it on this show before, currently it is so easy for our kids to go and get information. When you were 18 and I was 18, we had to, like, if it wasn't in an encyclopedia, you like literally, you had to like go to an office, or your parents or whoever had to know somebody who would agree to sit and talk to you and tell you about something.
Yes.
And that's scary.
Absolutely.
Versus YouTube and Google. They don't have to, and even then I can go, I'm gonna put them on blast. I can go, did you check out the thing I sent you, the link, you know, while I was at work? I'm gonna look at it. And it's like, dang, man, like, you know,
we didn't even have that. We didn't even have that luxury.
No, all we had, like I always say, my dad saying, did you call the man? Did you talk to the dude? And it's like, I want to talk to some old dude, like like I don't even know him. Who is he again? And I set it up for you, you know.
Right.
And that's if you had parents that would do that. My dad did. But I was just lazy. I ain't gonna lie. I mean, I won't say lazy. I just, if I couldn't see it, and I think that's for young people, sometimes if you can't physically see yourself doing it, if you can't see it as a reality, it's so hard to step forward in faith and actually do it. It takes a lot more faith if you can't see yourself doing something. You know, especially if you're the first one in your family to do it. You know, you're not going based on something, you know, your dad was a lawyer, so now you become a lawyer. You still have you still don't remember what made you want to be a lawyer, huh? Not like me, like TV. I watched a lot of TV when I was a little kid.
I mean, I did too, but I can't recall like nothing on there that had lawyer shows and stuff. So I don't even know why. But it
Yeah.
was. I know I was an avid reader back then. I would read a lot of books. Like you could not get my head out of a book. If my mom was like, you know how they used to have the whole book those book slips that they would give you to order books
Oh
when
yeah, I forget the
about
name of the company, but LAUSD. They had the
yes,
bookmobile. Yeah.
yes. So if she would be like, I'd bring home the slip all happy. Mama, can I get these books? And I mean, I probably had about 10 books on there. She's a cookie. You can get about two of them books. That's it.
Yeah, I remember those days. Yeah.
So maybe might have been something I probably read. I don't know.
I see. I see. Now you touched on something that I meant to go over. Tell me about becoming a pastor. When did this happen? How old were
Yes.
you? Was this while you were at
So
FedEx? You opened somebody's box and
I
found a
God,
Bible? What happened?
do. I'm not like I said early on, I've always loved the Lord since I, could understand basically for myself. So at the age of 5 is when I just became so I believe I was filled with the Holy Ghost at the age of 5, if I'm being honest. So just going on, life takes you through these trials, these tribulations. So I belong to this church called Christ is the Answer. And I don't know. I just felt the calling because the word of God says that you can't come unless the Holy Ghost draws you. And so I just felt this calling on my life, like you need to be in ministry. And so there I became a minister. I became an ordained minister at Christ is the Answer. And then on from there, I went to ministry school. I graduated top of my class in ministry school. Um, and then I became an elder. And
Okay.
so from there, I felt like I was stuck. I was stagnant. I felt like I wasn't moving anywhere. I felt like I was hitting a wall. And so I needed to move forward in ministry. And one of this couple that I went to high school with, they were opening their own church in Adelanto, California. If don't nobody know where that is, it's up by Victorville. It's very far from the valley. Just put
Oh,
that.
Adelanto. Man, it's been years since I've been in California. I haven't heard that name of a city.
Oh
That's
my,
a small town, guys, right? It's
yes,
still
it's
small?
a small town. Yes,
Okay.
they're building it up though. They really are building it up out there. They have a lot more houses and a lot more retail and stuff going on out there. But yes, so I ended up helping them open their church, and from there I became a licensed pastor with them under their leadership. It was called the Jesus Foundation Family Church. But then things took a turn there and I ended up leaving there. And I thank God for that. I thank God for the experience. However, I thank God. I'm going to just say, I thank God for discernment. I thank God that when God is telling you to move, you better move, period. You better move when he say move. So I ended up leaving there. I had a lot of church hurt. I'll put it that way. Not the building per se, but the people in the church.
Yeah.
And I had made up in my mind, I'm not joining nobody else's church. I'm not doing none of that. I'm not doing it. So I would just, so the Lord gave me my own ministry, which is called Free to Worship. Um, so I would just kind of do little Bible studies and stuff here and there with that. And then I became a licensed, ordained pastor. So the difference between a licensed and an ordained pastor, a licensed pastor, you're just under the pastoralship of somebody else's ministry.
Oh,
Being an
okay.
ordained pastor, you ordained. It's nothing more. You can go start your own church. You can, do all of that. And don't have to be under anybody. You could just be under your own. It's good to have an overseer, though. I'll put that out there for anybody that's listening. If you are in ministry and you're starting your own ministry or whatever you're doing, it's good to have an overseer over you.
Now, do
So
you have like your own website or anything where people can go and hear a cookie sermon um, or see one on
I
YouTube or anything?
No, I don't. And that's the thing. Because see, that was the thing with me. We were trying to develop it, but like me and you are just talking about, it's that thing where it's like w- the information, like how do I do this? How do I push my ministry? How do I, get it out there like the way it is now? Now you can Google everything and everybody's ministry popping up. You can go to YouTube, everybody's ministry popping up. It's just something I don't think that I fully developed in. And I'm ashamed of that. I'm
Well,
honest.
well, there's still time. You
It
know,
is,
I
it is.
mean, there's still time. There's still time. I wanted you to touch on that because I know your background, and
Yeah.
you know, this time that we're spending talking, this really only gives you a piece of who this woman is. Very special person. Very special person. And I want to thank you for giving a little time after church. I know how Sunday after
Absolutely.
church is.
Yeah.
You want to chill out.
Right.
You got to go in
But no,
tomorrow.
I'm grateful for the, yes, I do have to go to work tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now I will tell a story.
I was just about to say, I was going to remind you because I want to hear the story.
I'm pretty sure it's true because the person had nothing. There was really no gain from it other than for real. But I don't even remember if Kay knows this story. If I've told her this story, I don't think I have.
Oh, God.
I will say this since we've come to the end of the podcast. It'll come. Well, anyway, here's my story. So, this was in 98. Yeah,
Okay.
this had to be 97, 98. Had a friend, a good friend of mine, and we're in the car. We're rolling down to probably, I don't know, Old Town Pasadena or something, coming from Palmdale. Won't say nothing bad about Palmdale. Caught a lot of flack for that.
Oh, no.
Oh, because people that still live there. Anyway, let me be
Yeah.
quiet. Anyhow, so we're rolling. Song comes on, and I was like, "Oh, this is my favorite diss track." That's for you people who don't know what diss tracks are. This is when one rapper speaks bad about another rapper, i.e., Biggie, Tupac. Okay,
Right.
but this is a much better than Ice Cube, no Vaseline. I'm listening to Dollars and Cents. I
Oh,
could, if there was karaoke, I could get up and do the whole song.
that's
Anyhow,
crazy.
so we're listening to this, and the girl said, this is very real, what we're listening to. And I was like, yeah, no, I'm sure it is. And she said, well, and this is a name that I know this guy went to her high school and they dated for a while. She went to prom with him. As a guy named Warren Campbell.
Uh-huh.
And she said, Warren took me to the studio, and people who know the song Dollars and Cents, real hip hop people, they know who I'm talking about. I'm talking about DJ Quick.
Right.
And she said, no, it's very real. There was a beef, for people who don't know this. There was a beef between DJ Quick and MC8, another rapper. And it was more than just on wax, as they say, on tracks. It was personal. And or they took it there. And she was saying that there was one. I bring this story up for a reason. There was one afternoon. They're at a studio. I want to say in like Torrance or something. It was It was in the South Bay area. I remember that much. And she said, Warren took me to the studio because he was going to do some work with, and he was going to do some work with David. And I was like, David. And she's like, oh, Quick. And I was like, oh, you can call him Dave. She goes, well, because we spent a lot of time, like he would bring me and I just sit there until one day she said, she said, we're there, and all of a sudden, these dudes show up at the studio, and they're ready to start some stuff. And she said they told Warren and somebody else told her, hey, go to this room. Like she said, it was just like some room, like in the office, in the space. And they're going to lock the door. It wasn't a closet, but she said they're going to lock the door and you get under the desk or whatever, because these people ain't playing.
Oh my
And,
God.
and I said, really? She goes, yeah. It was crazy. She was like, and DJ Quick's wife was there. And I was like, oh, he got a wife? And I didn't know. And she was like, yeah. And I was like, what does she look? There is no Google at this time.
Right.
There is no internet like that. So unless you were in Vibe magazine or The Source or something like that, we didn't know. Yeah. So or a music video if MTV News showed something, you know. And I said, oh, what does she look like? And she goes, she's really tall and she's really pretty, but she's nothing like him. And I said, really? Wow. I said, what do you mean? And she goes, she's a very strong Christian woman. And I was like, wow. I said, really? And she goes, yeah. Now, she said that she met you a few times. Her name was Dana. I don't know why you would remember her, but she was with Warren, and she was like, no, she's a very sweet lady. Like, you would never know.
Oh my God.
She was like, you would never know that was his wife. And I was like, huh. So that happened. It all got squashed or whatever. And you would have remembered, I guess. I've kind of let the cat out the bag by now, folks, if you're not too dense. Who her father of her children and who David was or is. So I knew this to be true because that was in 97, 98 when we had this conversation. So then I meet my wife and I'm like, oh, where do you work? And she tells me where she works. And I think I met her for lunch or something. And the same situation. We're listening to a DJ Quick song or something. She goes, you know, I work with his wife. And in my mind, I'm like, oh, shut up. Now, I wanted to know if I wanted to know if that first person was telling the truth. And I said, oh, what is she like? She goes, oh, same thing. She goes, she's very pretty and she's tall and she's a strong Christian woman. Yeah, she's like a pastor. And I was like, wow. Really? And then I met you and I was like, yeah, I said that. I guess the first person was telling the truth. Yeah, and I always wanted to tell you that story. I never did for years. I'd always look and I go, yeah, she had no reason to lie. I mean, these aren't, crazy things to say, but yeah, I never forgot that story. I was like, really? And then what? And then I don't know, Quick's people went out there and they got him to leave. And I was like, oh, and we got from under the desk. She said, and you may not remember it, but she said, I was praying or his wife was praying. I remember her praying. And I was like, dang, I said,
I'm sure. I'm so sure.
Yeah, I never forgot that. I was like, she was praying. She goes, yeah, we were hiding under a desk in a room with the lights off and she was just praying. And I said, geez. So when I met you, I was looking at you.
Oh, that just gave me the chills.
Yeah, I was looking at you when I first met you, and I was like, that's that lady that was praying in the closet with Dana. I'm like, huh. I said, okay. And then over time and years of knowing you and birthday parties and all that stuff, I was like, oh, yeah, no, I can definitely see that she was the person in the closet praying. But yeah, I don't know.
Oh, special. Oh, my God.
I don't know.
I love it.
Yeah, but anyhow, we can end it on that. Again, thank you. I always ask people, if you're listening to this, please leave a comment. Cookie, if you have anything you'd like to promote, any shout outs or, anything, please feel free. As far as your ministry is concerned or anything of that matter.
Well, no, if anybody that's listening and, we were talking as me and Keith were talking, I'm very honored once again, one of my passions is to be able to give a little bit more history and detail with my story. So, anybody that's listening, if you want to hit me on socials, I'm under Instagram as Pastor Cookie. And on Facebook, I'm on Facebook as Nedra Richardson. So that's how you can, find me. Our email is God, the number 4, EVR, the number 1 at yahoo.com. And I do have a ministry page. I don't even understand why I did not say that. It is Free to Worship.
Yeah.
And it is on Instagram as well. It's called Free to Worship. How you will know it's mine is I have a emblem of a purple dove on there. So yeah, that's how you can find me.
Gotcha. I do have one last question. Now that I already said who you're,
like the cat out the bag, right?
Yeah. Now that the cat's out the bag, who is the most famous person, in your opinion, that you've met?
The most famous person, in my opinion, that I've met, Oh my gosh, Elder Barge.
Oh, okay.
New Edition. No, wait, hands down, New Edition, because that used to be my group back in when we were younger. So when I was able to meet all of them, we were on a cruise. I will never forget it, and I met all of them because he had to do a show on a cruise that we took, and I met them, and I was just so starstruck. I mean, yeah, so definitely New Edition.
So you didn't meet Michael Jackson. I was hoping.
I did not get to meet Michael Jackson, no.
No Prince either?
Know. No Prince either. He has, but not me.
I heard him on Drink Champs talking about a couple of Prince stories.
Yeah, I know, it's rude.
And I remember him telling me about him working with Rick James. I thought that was cool.
Yes. Yeah. I actually went to Rick James' memorial service.
Oh, did you really?
So that it, yeah. So I mean, it's been quite interesting. It's been an interesting ride.
Yeah. That's what this life is about. Interesting rides. And that's what this podcast is about. It's a chance to document some of that. Like I always say, for people who know me, or maybe you don't know me, like I always say, hit me up, leave it in the comments. I'm not going to give you my phone number over this podcast. This will probably be the only time, not you, but for most people in this life, that you'll get to tell your story. And as far as people becoming guests on the show, that's all it is. Just a chance to tell your story when you're a great grandparent and just some dude or some woman, in a picture, and people go, who is that guy? Or who is she?
Yeah.
Those people who are still alive can play your episode. And I know it sounds kind of sappy to some, but it's true. Like, how many times have someone asked you, who are you? Outside of a job interview, outside of you having to do it. We're just doing this for fun. And I don't know. I like to believe it's fun. Fun to listen, fun to do it. So anyhow, thank you, Cookie. Finally.
Thank you.
If you have something that you want to come on and promote in the future, or anyone please feel free to reach out. Thank you to everyone for listening. Again, if you like this episode, please leave a comment. We're available Spotify, Apple, Pandora, pretty much anywhere. If you can search, and you should have done it by now if someone didn't send you a link, if you can just search Grow Up Already on Apple Podcasts, probably the quickest route to take to get this episode and other ones. And again, thank you for your time, everybody. Drive home safe, and God bless.